like, we have a new model coming out, the ARX, and that's when I got this one. They were like they kind of surprised me with it. I came down and it was just all wood, and it hadn't been painted or anything, and they were like, what do you think of this new guitar? And I was like, it's amazing, you know, I love it, you know. Like, it didn't even have any pickups in it or anything, but you could just tell from the, you know, the craftsmanship of it, how rad it was, and it was nice and heavy. I like really heavy guitars.
I just like the way it looked, and you know, when I played, I like the way it feels too. It's really easy to play.
I don't know, when I put on a guitar, to me, one of the most important things is that it doesn't feel like a toy. You know, that's what I always say, like, if I put on a guitar and it feels like a toy, it's like I can't play it. And it just feels like, you know, you put it on and it just, you know, you're like, all right, let's go, you know, we're ready. You know, it's like the difference between driving a crappy car and a good car, you know? Can't explain it until you're behind the wheel, you know? And when you pick up, you know, one of these guitars, it's just like, you're like, you just know instantly. I don't even need to plug this in. I know it's gonna sound good. You know what I mean? You can just tell, so.
Yeah, when I play this guitar, nothing gets in the way. Everything is easy to play and everything is easy to change. You know, it's really comfortable to hold. You know, it feels fluent on stage.
I think one of the main things is it's easier to play something that feels good. You know, so if a guitar doesn't feel good, you're not going to play good. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. That's what everything in life is. You know, so it's like if you put something on and it just feels good. Your whole, I know it sounds cheesy, but just like your whole aura, you know, your whatever it is, you know, that feeling inside just makes you feel good, and then when you start playing, you're gonna play better. You know, it's like playing in front of 10 kids or 1,000 kids. You're gonna play better when you're in front of 1,000 screaming kids because you got that feeling inside, you know, and it just makes you want to do better, you know.
Care for like writing good melodies for the vocals and guitars. You know, if I do play solos, it's more about memorable solos rather than playing fast or anything like that. I don't think that takes much of practice, but I think it takes more of having a good sense. You know, I think that comes from, you know, comes from everything. You know, it comes from life. You know, the music to me is not really about playing music. You know, it's about expressing your life.
I guess the easiest way to describe the sound of like an ARX is just fat, big and fat. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've never really concentrated on being like so much of like a show off with my playing and stuff like that. Whereas like I get off stage and I want people to be like, oh man, you're so good, you know, and like, oh, you know, what you just played is so awesome. I've never really cared about any of that stuff. One thing I have always cared about though is that I've always cared about the tone of my guitar, you know, and that has a lot to do with everything, your guitar, the amp you're playing through, you know, the pedals you're playing through, all that stuff. But it all comes down to basically your guitar, you know what I mean? If you play a guitar that's thin, you know, that sounds thin, and it's going to come across as just a really bad tone. One thing I've always kind of, like, I guess, prided myself on is my tone, you know, and, you know, if there's ever any compliment I've ever gotten, it's just been on that, you know, like, you know, you get off, it's a good feeling. You get off stage and maybe one of the other bands that, you know, you respect because, you know, they're shredding guitar players or whatever, you know, they'll come up afterwards and be like, dude, your guitar sounds really good. You know what I mean?
Nowadays, I think I'm more into, you know, I think more about being a part of the band and like, you know, I play for the sake of music.